That was the news, and now the shitting forecast.
Look, we could end up in World War III over this whole thing. Forget about pipeline.
Who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline?
I don't want to get our country in trouble, so I won't answer it. But I can tell you who it wasn't.
Hey
It was
guys.
Russia.
How you
But when they
going?
blamed Russia, you know, they said Russia blew up their own pipeline. You got a kick out of that one too.
Alright, let's see here. Nothing like getting prepared before you push play on the streaming. Where's my Jamie? I need a young Jamie to help out with the details of the podcasting. But hey, I'm getting there, having fun in the process, which is ultimately what we should be doing at all times.
It wasn't Russia.
I'm going to start with a video that I like. Let's see if I can find something. I use TikTok a lot. I'm on TikTok as Mindful Earth or Whynotcreatelove. I love the content that you get on TikTok. It's very unique, and it's got many different people's views, which I really like. I mean, I don't believe everything I'm told. I question everything. So I just find it interesting. I'm always open to new ideas, and I find that TikTok has an amazing amount of new ideas. There's always new thought processes coming through. Like maybe it's the conscious collective, but you see it a lot more like that on TikTok. And I think it's because it's just more free. Like you have more access to people, like strangers. I find with Instagram or Facebook, you don't have that reach out to the world. It seems to be more caged in. And so TikTok, you really feel the energy that's going on. Like, to me, it's like people start talking about the same topics. A topic will come up and they'll talk about it for a few days and then go to another topic. It's really interesting, and of course the algorithm is very powerful on TikTok. Like I see, like if I watch a video for the full time, then I'll start to see other videos with similar content. So there's no doubt there's confirmation bias as well. So you have to always be knowing that you don't know what it is, what is the topic. You don't know. We don't know. There's no way we can know the full truth of any situation. You know, like they say, there's 3 sides to a story. My side, your side, and the truth. And that's true, right? There you go, there's a truthful statement. Because, yeah, that's where I just forgot what I was talking about. And I was like, who can I ask? Who can I ask to tell me what I was just talking about? The joys of free flow, like when you're just channeling and you're not, like I don't know what I'm going to talk about right now. So you just channel what comes up. But then it sometimes can just go as quickly as it arrived. And you're like halfway through. And maybe that's a good sign. That's a sign of saying enough talking. You don't need to say any more. Done. So yeah, that could be the universe talking through me and just giving me this blank. So okay, enough. All right, I'll go with that. I'm not sure if I'm going to find a good video here. This is a great one. This is a whale encounter with the guys, but listen to the sound the whale makes. How amazing is that? I would listen to it one more time. It's telling us something. Isn't that amazing? I feel like that was an important message for us, for humanity. Let's hope the whales are. I know they're on our side, right? They want the survival of the human race, because they know if we create nuclear war, and we blow this whole place up, like they're affected. Everyone's affected. So everyone wants humans to get their shit together. Everyone wants humans to find that harmony with the planet again. Everyone, the birds, I'm sure all the alien species, the good ones, like everyone, it's the whole universe wants us to get our shit together. So I think it's worth striving towards that. I really do. And so what I've been shown is the way how we do that is through coming together again in harmonious communities or tribes or cities. But you have to have that harmony of all in that place. But when you have the harmony, amazingness happens. Like that, I've seen it with the community that we had here, Mindful Earth, where having all these amazingly vibrating people, like people are just just really in their zone when they're all together. People are just like they're happier because they get to talk to other people. They get to know and they get to share their own feelings, and they get to learn wisdom from every story that they hear. Right? There's so much beauty in us living in communities that are structured the right way. And that's what I feel is the communities haven't been structured in the right way. And so we go back in history to look at how did they structure their societies, their communities. Couldn't have all been bad. They must have had to have found a solution to the society of how it was structured for it to be harmonious. And I keep going back to the Babylonians like that. I believe their civilization, 2,500 years, just like the Egyptians, and now it's in Iraq. We just see that as like a destroyed place. But these guys, for 2,500 years, had a society that functioned, and I'm pretty sure it was a place of beauty. People were beautiful. Prisons, very few. Like I don't know, but I want to know more about that because you have. I saw it here in a community with maybe 30 to 60 people. Like if there's no harmony, then everything just starts falling apart really quickly. And then that's when you have to start putting rules in place. Trust goes, people start stealing things, and it's like downhill from there. So it's in the best interest of the society, civilization, to keep their people happy. It's in the best interest of their society to keep them being educated and learning the right things about raising their consciousness, connecting with God, like spirit, connecting with nature. Like this is what our society should be focusing on, because then everything else after that flows. Because if everyone's in a happy state, then your civilization will be successful. So it's a natural law. Keep your people happy and they will do great things. Teach your people and they'll do great things. And I really do, starting to feel that the Egyptians, there were no, the slaves weren't slaves. They were people willing to work, to be in that society. Because there was such beauty and amazingness. It was a fairy kingdom, right? And maybe there were times when it was there were difficulties, but for 3,000 years the Egyptians lasted, and you can see some of the beautiful art pieces that they've created. It tells you of the type of society that they had. And when you realize that for society to succeed, you've got to look after your people, then you understand what they had worked out. And then they continued and flourished for so long. And I believe the Babylonians as well. So it's somehow been erased from our history, this understanding. I don't even think we study societies in the way we should. Studying a society, understanding how the laws functioned, and understanding how what did the people celebrate? What were the customs of the time? All these things are very hard to find. I'd love to know more about the Greeks, the Romans, the Scythians, seeing how the Mongols and the empire that they created. How did they function? Their society. How did the society function? That's the question we need to ask, because it's that's the key to it. That's the key building block for everything. Because you're going to have a fail. If it's not the perfect system, and there must be a system designed for us, just like the ants have a system, and the bees have a system, and the grasshoppers, or they have a natural order that exists. So yes, so that is the first law of building a society, is to the law is that you must create harmony. For any society to survive, there has to be harmony between its people. And yeah, maybe a society will fail over 50 years, or maybe it takes time. It doesn't just happen overnight, because there's ways that you can slow the failure down. You can lock all the people up that are unhappy. You can give them drugs. You can take their thoughts away from rebellion by giving them cheap alcohol, which actually happened. There was a time in England where the gin wars, they're called, where they lowered the price of gin in London because there was so much civil unrest and political unrest. People were getting involved in politics, so they lowered the price of gin. Yeah, I've often wondered that about with methamphetamine. It's a really terrible drug, and when it gets into a population who are, it's drug taking is a way for people to get out of their current reality, It takes them to a different world, which they have a temporary, respite from the world they're living in. Like there's the Rat Hilton experiment where rats in a large, huge cage with everything they needed. Like they had cocaine drippers, but they didn't use them. Where they put rats in a small little cage, and that's all they did was take the cocaine. It's like all we need is hope and a will to live and a will to connect and to laugh. Like that's all we need. Is we need that to keep ourselves happy and guided, and yeah. Hmm. So I feel our system is so far off because you've got people wanting to take drugs, and they know they're not. They know they shouldn't be. But if you gave those guys hope, guarantee they'd come off because they don't want to be on. That it's not their soul is being destroyed, and they know it, but they don't feel they have hope any other place. So it's all about society. It's all about living and building a society that functions to support everybody in every way. So they have passion, like you support them in a way that they can live their passions. So if my passion is pottery, then there's experts. You can go and learn pottery, and you create, and you express your passions. That's what we support in a society. Everyone can go wherever they want to go. Like that, it's freedom. It's all about freedom and having no. So this is something that we have to learn: is that how to connect on a human level again. We have to learn how to drop our guards. So we have to learn to not judge and to not be greedy. You need to be able to share. Like there's all these things that we have to drop before a society can be in that state of harmony. So it's like a whole relearning we have to do. It's a whole relearning of our society, and learning to trust again. It takes, that's something. One of my qualities is to trust, and that's probably why I was able to have a community for 3 years and still have hair. Now I got more hair actually. But by trusting, you take a lot of pressure off yourself and worry and all these things. Just like, it'll be alright, it'll work itself out. And I trust that they're going to do this okay, and if they don't do it, well, that's okay. Trust is a big part of us reconnecting in our societies. So that's where my idea of creating a sustainable village, like a demonstration sustainable village, where it's based on holistic. It's a holistic center, place to raise consciousness and to heal people. But it's also it creates everything it needs to be sustainable. And it's a demonstration project, so we show the world how to do it, and what not to do, right? Like, this is the thing I've learned over the last few years. Is like, of course, there was things you could always do better. You could always not do this or that, because that created that response. And yeah, that there's definitely some things that shouldn't have happened. But if you don't do things, you can't make mistakes. And so by doing things, you make mistakes, but this is how you learn. And for me, the last 3 years has been such an amazing learning experience on how to create a society, on how to manage a society. And that society can be any size, from 20 people to maybe, I don't know what the limit is. We dream big and build a society that's, thousands of people who are living in this like heaven on earth style life. That's what we have to aim for. Because it's possible. And it's probably even more possible now because of the technologies that we have. We can communicate so much more, we can share, we can connect, we can create amazing like content, we can make amazing, just all the different healing modalities, all the different tech that you can do, like for creation of, like, you can 3D printers. You've got all these different tooling now that you can have at your sustainable village that allows people to build amazing things. Yeah, like, it's all there. So it's easier now than it ever has been to do this. But they managed to do it in the past. You look at the Proto-Indo-Europeans, and they were, like, their system of society went all over the world, because you see their symbols in all these different cultures, which their tribal system must have been very successful. And you see it with their art. They were very good warriors. Their metalwork, the chariot, they say it all came from these guys. And they were the ones who went out and went into Europe. And so what was their system, their tribal system? Like, I'd love to know more about the tribal systems of the Germans and the French, the Germanic tribes. The only thing I know about the Germanic tribes is from Asterix and Obelix. There's just nothing on, and you can see the twist, the way the world portrays these tribal people, these barbarians, I keep saying. It's like everything is spun negatively as to that they were. And I say we because I feel that I am of the Viking origin. I'm from that path of the tribal system, the Scythians, right? The tribes that came from the Scythians. And I feel that the societies were way more beautiful than we are told. And I mean, for me, I question everything, and I usually question things more when we're told that it was bad, and then I question when we're told things were good. You know, Alexander the Great. It's like, well, was he really that great? What is the true story? Because I know Genghis Khan he was told to be the worst man in history, but he also created the largest empire on earth, and his children were emperors, amazing emperors. Like, how? What was so bad about Genghis Khan? I know that if you know, one of the ways that he created the kingdom was to offer something, which was a leadership type. But if someone said, no, I don't want it, then he would come down hard on them. And so, but what I question is, was Genghis, like, was his society one of beauty and artistic creation? How could he create such a large civilization for as long as it was without having those qualities? Ultimately, all humans want is peace and love, and to be with their family and friends, and to enjoy the world, to have a good time. So yeah, I question everything, and I think you should too. And what I see though is that the tribal system wasn't as bad as we're told. I have an example of why I see that is because you hear about my heritage. These guys were given land in France, near Brittany, and within 200 years, they had gone to England and installed their kings, and basically changed the whole structure of the government in England. Like, they did the Doomsday Book, where they accounted for everyone. Everyone it was like the survey, what do you call it? The census. But yeah, and then they kicked the Muslims out of, the Muslims out of Spain, and then they kicked the Muslims out of Cyprus. Cyprus or Sicily? Sicily. Had been ruled by Muslims for a couple of 100 years, and they kicked them out. But the interesting thing is, they didn't kick them out. They kicked the rulers out, and they became the rulers. But they allowed all the cultures to coexist. They didn't kick out the population, and so I believe Sicily has some beautiful architecture and artwork, like to show the mix of the different cultures, like the Muslim and the Christian, and I think the Roman, like the Eastern European culture as well. I'm not sure, no more then, but yeah, it's they managed to create a huge shift in Europe, and these guys were barbarians from Norway. Like, they come in and made such change in such a short amount of time. Like, they can't be just barbarians, right? They can't just, they had systems, they had society, they had education, they had everything organized to make the best men that they could, and best women. Like, they weren't barbarian. And I think that's how the Germanic tribes were too, and the Scottish tribes, all the tribal system. I don't think it was that barbaric. Yeah. more, but it's hard to find information. I'm going on a gut feeling, because that gut feeling I have learnt through being in community, that societies need to be as advanced as consciously and technologically as possible to survive over the next tribe that may have a better weapon. So you have to create a system that maximizes ingenuity. You can't be stagnant always. You're always looking for new ways to it, or like there's always innovation, because it's for the survival. And so the system has to have almost all its emphasis on its people. Yeah. How are we going for time? 30 minutes. Halfway. Oh, alright. I'm going to I need to stop talking for 2 minutes. I've just got the sheep come in. Hello, guys. Hello, Lavender. We got Lavender and Pumpkin. And they are the most beautiful sheep. I should I'll take a photo. I wonder if I can. Lavender. Thank you. Pumpkin. Such a stoic looking animal. He's very cool. And he lost his balls when he was about 10 months old. So just before he got aggressive, before he got too much testosterone into him, became an aggressive male. It's raining here in Western Australia. We've got our first winter storm come through the last 2 days. But before that we had maybe 4 months of like blue sky and sunshine. Yeah. So it's kind of nice to be rugged up. Got my jacket on. Got my beanie. Mr. Pumpkin, we love you. Take another photo. Smile. So, building societies, that is the question. To me, it's funny, I don't... Am I the only one who sees the importance of society design? Like, why isn't it like a topic that we can talk about and we can review all the old societies and see where they failed and what caused them to fail? I would like to be involved in that, because ultimately we should be striving for the best society. Striving for the best society. And it's like, well, how big, what's the optimum population size of a society, a civilization? There must be a perfect number. Maybe you have too many. Maybe it's the whole world. Or maybe it's many, many different societies, like kingdoms, where people of the same culture live. Like if they want to, no, like, yeah, people with the same culture, the same interests. So if you're into rollerblading, you have a village or a town that all they do is rollerblading. That's their thing. It's like the big pineapple in Queensland. Like they're known for something. They have something special about them. They specialize. And then people will go there because it's like, wow, I want to go rollerblading. And these guys have got the best rollerblading tracks. So then you get specialist rollerbladers all living in that place. And see, rather than having one big city, you have lots of smaller cities that are to a certain size. Like, you don't want to get over a certain size unless that city is specific, like it's designed in a way that allows for the people in that large population to still be in harmony, where we still have our connection. We still treat each other like family. Yeah. So there must be perfect sizes, and it's interesting. I've never really seen any documentation on, like, talking about the size of tribes. Even the size of cities and villages in the old days. Like, what were the sizes? Because I guarantee there'd be a perfect size, a natural harmonious size of your city, your village, your mega city. But the way that it used to be was there was villages everywhere, so so you had the ability to just go village hopping if you chose. But then I believe maybe like in Scotland they didn't travel very much, and you know that because the Scottish accent can change from one village to the next. So you have people that are just so transitory, stagnant, so stagnant that they never even go and visit the next village. So their language accents change. Where my understanding is that the tribes or villages that work the best is when there's a lot of movement between them. Commerce, right? You rely on each other, but then you also mix together. Like, you are all one brethren. There's no separation. But maybe in Scotland it got in sort of like you call the Dark Ages, and they lost that trust in each other. So then it was just protect your village, protect your clan at all costs. But yeah, it's fascinating because English, Welsh, Scottish history been a wild ride for 2,000 years. Interesting stuff, and lots of different kingdoms. There was 7 before the Norman, and there was a lot of, and then you had the Vikings coming over, causing a stir. So there was always like something happening, I believe. But I still believe that they were fair people because they weren't barbarians. They actually had laws, common laws, and there was fairness. And yeah, that's what I'm going with. And so what can we learn from all those old societies? But yeah, they had different. They didn't have one big united kingdom. They had many kingdoms, and maybe there is a perfect kingdom size, and maybe it has a lot to do with the land as well. The type of land you have, the mountains. Like what is regionally, what's the perfect space? But I think now we're less reliant on boundaries because we have the ability to transport, move all over the place. We can communicate with each other. So the kingdoms may not need to be as small as they were in the past. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know all the different... Oh. That was a sheep that did that. There we are. Yeah, Mr. Pumpkin knocked the camera stand over. Yeah, what are the perfect sizes? You must know, there must be information, like the Indian tribals, like northern India, they had lots of kingdoms, they had lots of movement, lots of kings, and like the Buddha was a king, a prince from a kingdom, up by near the Himalayas. So he was a prince. He was born into the bloodline of the kings, and he chose to. He didn't choose to be the king. This is the story. He went off to become an ascetic spiritual person. Yeah, which my question is, why do you need to? Why couldn't he be king as well? And it's just occurred to me as well just now, because why couldn't he have been the king? He would have been an amazing king. Enlightened. Like, why did he choose to go walking around India? He could have, imagine what he could have changed as a king and enlightened. Interesting. So, to me, that now the official story of Buddha seems a little bit something's not right there, because if an enlightened man becomes enlightened, all he wants to do is change the world. And how do you change the world with the biggest impact? You become the king of your kingdom, right? And then you can change so much more for the love of everyone. So why did the Buddha not want to do that? He wanted to go in the disciples. And that's maybe he chose that. Maybe there's truth in that he just chose. But I feel that he would have felt the opposite. That he would have felt, well, how do you change the world with the most impact? How do you bring light to as many people as possible? You do that by becoming the king. Interesting. Yeah, and then the story goes that Jesus was also of a king line. He was a king. He was of the Davidic king order of the Israelites. He was in line from Solomon and many other kings before and after. But Solomon seems to have a very much a good memory for us. The Songs of Solomon, which I need to look at the lyrics on that. I'd love to listen to that. But yeah, Jesus was also a prince who became a king. It's like he was enlightened, and he had that kingly power. Yeah, and you can. That's where the Jesus story gets a bit hard to. Like, what was the politics? Jesus was the king, or prince, not crowned king, but had a possibility of reaching the throne, a right for the throne. And he was enlightened, but I don't understand how he got killed. I don't understand, like, he didn't become king, so we know that. He wasn't crowned king, and I think that's where the trouble began. And somehow, I guess there's lots of stories of, like, you look at the sultans, and they used to, if they had if there was a son born, I don't know if it was the firstborn son got priority for the kingship or the sultanate, and but if he had 3 or 4 other sons, and the king was dying, and the king said, "You can be the ruler," like he'd go and the soon-to-be ruler would go and kill anyone who was possibly could usurp him. You know, like that. To me, that's living in a fear state. Where, if you look at the Merovingians, there's stories of one of the kings had 4 sons to 4 wives. The firstborn son, just like the Israelites, they had 4 wives and had 12 children, which is the 12 tribes. I digress. The Merovingians, they had 4 sons, and then they split the kingdom into 4 and gave each son. So, and the way it worked was because I think it's to do with things run better in those days if they're not too large, right? So you have 4 individual kingdoms, but they can all come together as one big kingdom. Like, to me, that was pretty interesting. They didn't have to go and kill their brothers because they loved their brothers. It's a whole different mindset. It's a whole different level of consciousness. It's a whole different understanding of the universe. So yeah. Society. And we have so many different amazing, like, society. Society is so, like, how do you define society? Well, even different culture. Like, at the moment, we're sort of all democratized. But we each has our own unique way of interpreting the democratic system. So that's interesting and fun to explore. Where there was a time when every country had a king. Now there's a very few countries who have kings or queens. But we're all around this model of democracy. But we've all got different models of democracy. Some, like the Commonwealth, still have some sort of representation of the Queen. Soon to be king. Right? So and they've lost their powers. They once had absolute power. They were the final say. Diluted kings and queens is also who the kings and queens are. In the past, the king and queen was, like, adored, but they were adored because they were worthy of being adored.